The VapePassion Show, episode 70. This week we're going to do an e-juice review for Mango Boba, and then we're going to talk about proposed regulations throughout the US. Does vaping lead to increased risk of bladder cancer? The Navy has developed a safer alternative to lithium-ion batteries, and Dr. Gottlieb takes over as the FDA commissioner and addresses his staff. Hey, welcome back to the VapePassion Show. I'm Alex, and this is episode 70, and I'm recording this on May 21st, 2017. So I've got a beer, and I'm ready to go. This week I'm drinking Saison à Miel from Left Hand Brewing Company out of Longmont, Colorado. It's a nice strong beer at 6.8% alcohol. They describe it as a dry farmhouse-style ale with a mild tartness softened by Colorado wildflower honey. Sounds pretty good, and it has an 83 on beeradvocate.com, so it should be a good one. It's a very smooth flavor. I usually like all beers, but this one just seems, I don't know, maybe just a little bit too plain to me. It's not bad, but I would have liked a little bit more flavor, I think. So I finally have some new stuff in this week, some vape stuff. So first I have the eLeaf iCare 140. I actually haven't opened this up yet because I don't have enough hard drive space. I really need to get another hard drive to store my video footage. Right now I'm trying to get my Eco 12 review finished so that I can make room, but I should have some thoughts on this soon. I also have the Eco 12 RTA deck, and here's a bit of a spoiler on the Eco 12 review that I have coming. I like the Eco 12 tank so much that I decided to order the rebuildable deck for it. It's okay so far, but I'll keep playing around with it to try to get better wicking and flavor. One thing I can say about this deck so far, though, is that the screws suck. They back out really easily, and they don't do a good job of keeping the coil legs down tight. And then I also got the Views Vibe. So if you follow me on social media, you'll have seen me put up a picture of this. I ran into a representative, RJ Reynolds, at a local 7-Eleven who was handing out coupons for cigarettes. I asked if he had any electronic cigarette coupons, and he did. So he gave me a coupon to get the Views Vibe for only $1, which is normally $20. And a coupon to get 2 tanks for $6, which are usually $10. I know a lot of people don't like basic setups like vape pens, and especially not products created by Big Tobacco, which this is. But I think they're important because these are the products that most smokers will start out with because they can be found in places like 7-Eleven and Walgreens. I actually already have one of these, which was given to me for my birthday a few months ago. So I've used it quite a bit. I can say now that it really isn't that bad of a product. The tobacco flavor is a little gross. I mean, it's not great. But I think a smoker might like it. The melon flavor that I just picked up is decent. Not like the high quality e-juice we typically use, but it's not too bad. And the pen itself is tiny and it dies fast, but it performs as well as you'd expect any vape pen to perform. Even for someone like me, it has its purpose. I like to keep it at my desk while I'm working or when I'm walking around downtown. Then when I get home, I like to use my more powerful devices. Okay, so that's what's new. Now let's do a quick e-juice review. So this week I have Mango Boba, and Mango Boba is a juice manufactured by Marina Vape. They describe it as sweet, juicy mangoes with a subtle hint of pineapples mixed into the perfect boba milk tea. So this comes in 70 VG, 30 PG, and nicotine strengths of 0, 3, 6, and 12. I have it in the Sub-Zero RDA on top of the iStick 100 watt TC. Let's see, it's built at 0.24 ohms, 75 watts. Like everything that comes from Marina Vape, it has a ton of flavor. It's pretty sweet too. I do get the mango flavor for sure. It's not really strong, it's not overwhelming. It's pretty good if you like mango flavors. The pineapple flavor, it might be in there. I might be getting it just slightly because it does have a bit of a tropical taste to it. The boba milk tea I'm not getting so much, but yeah, if you like fruity flavors, pineapple, tropical mango flavor, it's pretty good. I'm seeing sites online selling it for anywhere around $15 to $20 for a 30 ml bottle, so it's a little expensive. I see it on breezy.com for $14.99 for a 30 ml bottle, so that's about as cheap as I can find it. Okay, so now that I'm set up with my beer and my vape, let's get into the topics this week. First, let's talk about proposed regulations throughout the US. So let's start out with some quick local call to actions. So listen in to see if your city or state was mentioned, and if it was, take action right away. First, let's start with San Francisco. So San Francisco Supervisor Malia Cohen has introduced a flavor ban for both flavored tobacco and vapor products. CASA is saying that the first hearing might happen on Wednesday, May 24th at 10:30 a.m. So if you live in San Francisco, reach out to city supervisors and tell them to oppose the ordinance. And then we have Los Angeles. So LA has a bill, HB 271, which would raise the tax on e-juice from 5 cents per milliliter to 13 cents per milliliter. It was actually heard last week, and the committee agreed to put this bill on hold while they further study if or how vapor products help smokers quit smoking, and how other states are taxing e-liquids. So it's a temporary win for now, but the bill is still there. So keep an eye on it and voice your opinions. And New York State, they have 2 bills in progress. One bill is designed to ban vaping indoors, and the other bill is designed to raise the age of buying vaping products to 21. If you live in New York, contact your state senators and ask them to oppose both of those bills. New York City also has an ordinance that would require vape shops to have licenses to sell vapor products. Now, the big issue with this bill is that licenses will only be issued for 90 days after the bill passes, then no more licenses will be given out. That means that any shop that doesn't obtain a license in time will be forced to shut down, and it also means that no new vape shops will be able to open. All right, now Maryland. So Maryland's HB 523 proposes imposing licensing regulations on Maryland vapor businesses, which now includes a last-minute partial online sales ban. Manufacturers are still allowed to sell online, but distributors and local shops are not allowed to sell online. The bill has already passed the House and Senate, and the last step is for it to be signed into law. So the only thing you can do now is request that Maryland's Governor, Larry Hogan, veto the bill. So you can find more information about all of these bills and ordinances on CASA.org, along with information on who you need to contact and what you can say. All right, the next topic. Does vaping lead to increased risk of bladder cancer? So there's some recent studies claiming that vaping might lead to increased bladder cancer risk, as well as a higher risk of mortality for bladder cancer patients. This data was presented at the 112th Annual Scientific Meeting of the American Urological Association earlier this month. And this data, it talks about how smoking is a clear cause of bladder cancer, although risk of vaping has yet to be determined. So that's what they set out to do. This data took into account 3 different studies. The first study reviewed data from a study collected from 1981 to 2009. This study showed that smoking more packs per day increases risk of death in patients with bladder cancer, while smoking less than 1 to 2 packs per day significantly reduces risk. I have no idea what the researchers were thinking when they translated this data to vapors. Vaping isn't anything like smoking, and the results of this study is not at all relevant. The second study consisted of testing the urine of 13 electronic cigarette users and 10 non-users for 5 known bladder carcinogens. What the researchers found was that 92% of the e-cig users tested positive for 2 of the 5 cancer-causing compounds that they were looking for. There are some pretty big things missing from this research. For one, the sample size is extremely low. And how many of these e-cig users are dual users? And how long has it been since these participants last smoked a cigarette? And what products were these people using? And how were these compounds formed in the vapor? I also don't know what methods were used, or if the vaping products were provided to the participants. And something interesting that Dr. Farsalinos pointed out in regards to this study is that previous research on the 2 cancer-causing compounds that the researchers found is entirely dependent on environments. Both O2-olidine and 2-naphthylamine have been found in other studies to exist in the same amounts in smokers as it does in non-smokers, which is because humans can uptake these chemicals from their environments. Dr. Farsalinos, he says that this is why these 2 biomarkers are not always used to measure toxin exposure from cigarette smoke. What the researchers should have done is test the aerosol for these compounds, not the urine of the participants. And finally, they showed data from a study that showed e-cigarette vapor inducing DNA damage in the bladder. Their results showed that vapor causes tumor-inducing DNA damage in the bladder membrane. They also found that nicotine, nitrosamine, and formaldehyde cause the same damage in bladder cells and inhibit DNA repair. They also say that nicotine can be nitrosytized in cells, which would metabolize into carcinogenic nitrosamines and formaldehyde. Now, the problem with this last part is that they tested nicotine on cells. That's not the same way nicotine comes into contact with our cells from vaping. And you can also look at research on smokeless tobacco, like chew and snus, which shows that it's not associated with risk of bladder cancer. So if chew, which has nicotine, is not linked to bladder cancer risk, why would the nicotine in electronic cigarettes be? And the formaldehyde scare has already been debunked. Large amounts of formaldehyde is only formed from burnt wicks, and formaldehyde is also produced naturally by our bodies, and is found naturally in many foods, things that we eat like fruits, vegetables, and fish. So there's clearly a ton of misleading information in these studies and in the researchers' conclusions. But when you look into the data, you see that there's actually nothing conclusive or convincing here. All right, the next topic. The Navy has developed a safer alternative to lithium-ion batteries. So the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, or NRL, recently released some research that claims that they've developed a breakthrough alternative to lithium-ion batteries. The NRL's chemistry division has been working on creating water-based zinc batteries, which they say are much safer than lithium batteries. They've actually developed and demonstrated working nickel-zinc batteries that contain a zinc sponge that replaces the volatile powdered zinc anode that's normally used in lithium batteries. The researchers say that this sponge improves on both energy content and rechargeability of lithium-ion batteries while removing the safety risks of traditional lithium-ion batteries. Zinc batteries are actually the go-to standard for single-use applications because of their safety, but until now, they haven't been rechargeable. This is because they tend to grow conductive dendrites inside of the battery that eventually grow long enough to short circuit the battery. But this sponge that these researchers have developed make it physically difficult for these batteries to form these dendrites. They've tested these batteries in 3 different ways: extended lifetime single use, cycling the batteries more than 100 times comparative to lithium-ion batteries, and cycling them more than 50,000 times in short duty cycles. They hope to deploy these batteries within a whole family of sizes. I'm not sure if that includes 18650s, which is what we typically use as vapors, but this is very promising news. And this is also great news considering that the Navy just recently banned vaping devices on Navy ships and vessels due to the dangers of improper care of lithium-ion batteries. The Navy's NRL press release specifically mentions this ban, which leads me to believe that they are considering these new batteries to be used in vapor products. All right, the next topic. Dr. Gottlieb takes over as FDA commissioner and addresses his staff. Dr. Scott Gottlieb made his first official announcement to the FDA staff last week with an FDA all-hands meeting letter. In his letter, he talked about his goals for protecting consumers and promoting public health in all of the many different ways that a doctor would. He also discussed his previous work with the FDA, which I think is just his way of helping his team understand that he's experienced and that the FDA is in good hands. It was a very optimistic letter overall, but let's get to the point that you're probably most interested in: Gottlieb's views on vaping. He actually didn't address vaping specifically, but he did make some hints. I'm going to read the relevant parts of his letter. So he said, "There's probably no single intervention or product we're likely to create in the near future that can have as profound an impact on reducing illness and death from disease as our ability to increase the rate of decline in smoking. We need to redouble efforts to help more smokers become tobacco-free. And we need to have the science base to explore the potential to move current smokers, unable or unwilling to quit, to less harmful products, if they can't altogether. At all times, we must protect kids from the dangers of tobacco use." Now, many people in the vape community are highlighting that part about less harmful products. Before we jump to conclusions, though, we should consider that he could be talking about pharma products or NRT products like nicotine gum and the patch. He didn't specifically mention vaping, although the very careful wording of his statements lead me to believe that he is talking about vaping. And we know that Gottlieb has ties to the vaping industry. He was the director of Cure, K-U-R-E, a vape shop in Charlotte, North Carolina, for more than a year, and according to his financial disclosures, he had financial interest in that company as of March of this year, 2017. And while we're on that topic, I've heard a lot of talk about Gottlieb saying that he would recuse himself from the vaping industry for a year. But I think people are misinterpreting what he said. Gottlieb's conflict of interest filing stated that he will not participate in any matter involving specific parties for 1 year after resignation. In this letter, Gottlieb stated that he resigned from Cure in May 2016, which means that 1 year is now up. And even if it wasn't, I think there's some wording here that's open to interpretation. He says he won't participate in anything related to specific parties, but he doesn't say anything about industries as a whole. I think he worded this in a way that allows him to make decisions related to the vaping industry, but not specifically to benefit Cure. That's my interpretation of it anyway, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm excited for Gottlieb to take over as commissioner of the FDA. I think there is a lot of promise here. Okay, that's all I have for this week. You'll find the show notes for this episode on VapePassion.com. Just search for episode 70. If you want to support the show, consider donating to my Patreon page at patreon.com/VapePassion. You can follow me on Twitter at VapePassion, and I'm also on Facebook if you want to leave me a comment. If you like this weekly show, please consider giving me a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. You can also subscribe to the podcast version of the show on either iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. If you'd like to get notifications of new reviews or of the show, you can sign up to receive my weekly email on VapePassion.com. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me anytime at alex@VapePassion.com. All right, I'll see you next week.